Welcome back, guys. Slapback here. Welcome to another tier list. So this is something I want to do probably at the end of each campaign. Spoiler alert, I want to go through the race's roster and give you my opinion on the individual units and stuff like that. Compared to probably the other units of a similar type in other races, and also within their own roster, of course. So we're going to be starting off with Nurgle, the most recent campaign that I've done. So this is based on, I guess, about 30 odd hours of playtime. For myself and how I found these units useful or not, etc. Right, we'll start with the plague drones of Nurgle. They're not that great, honestly. I mean, I don't think they're terrible, but they're just not that good. I didn't really use them much past the early stages of the campaign. Even like, yeah, nah, did I? Nah, not at all. Not at all. As opposed to the next one, which is the Death's Hand version of the same unit. Very good, and we use these actually right up till the very, very end. So they're definitely better. They do all right versus other flying units. Their melee stats are not actually that terrible. 33, 36, 95 armor piercing respectively. So yeah, they did all right versus other flyers from other factions and such. Honestly, I'm going to put them in A. I think they probably deserve to be up here. They're definitely not S tier, but they do a lot of range damage, and they can kind of hold their own versus other flyers, which I think, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, next up, we got the Pox Riders. This is the higher tier version. It's the anti-infantry one. I believe you can give these guys anti-large as well. I do have the actual army list on my other screen. If you can see the mouse disappearing, that's why. Because I'm sure these are anti-large. But it's actually saying they're anti-infantry. I just can't remember which ones I actually used in the end. I don't even think it was either of those. Well, no, it had to be one of them. As far as cavalry goes, I mean, we don't really need them, do we? Just honestly. No, we definitely do not. The Harpies, or Furies as they're called these days. D tier. Every day. Every single unit of Furies. I hate them. Most useless unit in the game. The melee stats are terrible. Melee defense of 18. What the heck is that about? I just can't. It doesn't matter the faction. I just can't play with them. They're just so bad. The Forsaken. Nurgle Forsaken. I think they're actually called. Forsaken of Nurgle. Yeah. I mean, they're alright. They're just a high damage unit. That's it. Again, really terrible melee defense. They die fast, but they dish out some pain. I'll put them in C. I mean, if there's a Lord that comes out that buffs them, maybe. But yeah, I mean, given that they're quite expensive as well, honestly. As opposed to the Nurglings. Nurglings are really good. Nurglings, I mean, they're not a terrible unit, but they're not amazing either, right? But for the campaign with the Pox Master, they're pretty much free. They're pretty much, well, they are free. I can't quite remember. They're very low cost otherwise if they're not free. So based on that, they're actually A because they're so cheap. And they just do not die. They don't do a lot of damage, but it's kind of not their purpose, right? Oh, is A bit generous? Oh, they're not as good as like Gobbos, right? No, B. No, they're definitely not as good as Gobbos. But they're not bad. They're not bad. One thing, I didn't realize Nurgle's roster was so limited. It's only 12 units or something. Nurglings. It's a base unit. I mean, it's a base unit like a C. But with the buffs, it brings them up to a B. And their strength is that they literally don't die in fighting. Well, very rarely. And they're so cheap. I think they're the same cost as Gobbos. But you can get, I'm pretty sure you can get them to free with the Poxmaker. Within his army, of course. Move along. Plaguebearers. Standard unit of Plaguebearers are very good. They're going to go on B. I think there's 2 S tier units, and you probably know what they are, but there's 2 S tier units within this roster, and Plaguebearers are not really one of them. Plaguebearers do alright though. They do decent damage. They've got pretty good melee defense. Of course, they help with that buff for their melee defense. What is it, +9 melee defense when they're in combat, which takes them up to somewhere around 40 melee defense. Damage looking at 48, melee attack at 30, which is quite low, but again, they don't die. I mean, this is the whole Nurgle roster, I suppose, is the fact that they just do not die. Yeah, I think they're a solid B. These guys are an A, definitely. very close to S. They're probably an A+, to be honest. They're not quite S tier, but they're very, very good. The Exalted Plaguebearers, sorry. With their range damage does a lot of damage. They only have 3 spears, or whatever it is. But their accuracy seems insane. Like, they seem to just not miss. They absolutely melt units when they run close to them. I haven't actually seen excluding Kessler probably, a hybrid unit. Are they really a hybrid unit? I mean, they're not range melee. No, they're melee with spears. Whatever you want to call that, I don't know what that's actually called. But I haven't seen a unit that does that as powerful as these guys. They absolutely put out the pain. I think we ran 6 in our final army. 6 of these, 5 or 6 of these, including the Regiment of Renown version, of course, which is very good and good in itself. I'm not going to count that in this thing though. Because what's their missile strength? Unbuffed is 42 armor piercing damage plus it's poisoned. Yeah, 3 arrows or 3 spears, 70 damage a pop. Unbuffed, of course. They're a really good unit. They're really good. They do their role, right? They just tank. That's what they're there for, tanking. Right, the old beast of Nurgle, the old lovely lady. She's a B. She's pretty generic as far as monsters go. There's nothing amazing about her. She doesn't really last an extraordinarily large amount of time. She doesn't seem to take a lot of damage either, honestly. Like from range stuff. The monster's obviously the biggest downfall is getting attacked by range. And they get absolutely destroyed. But she doesn't seem to. She seems to be quite tanky as far as that's concerned. Not a lot of damage, only 225. 32 melee attack, 34 defense. She's okay. They're not expensive, so yeah, well worth having a couple in your early game armies, early mid game. The first S tier, as far as I'm concerned. Probably as far as everybody's concerned. The Great Unclean one. The Great Unclean one, like his base stuff, is okay. He's probably an A. Actually, he's probably an A outside of the campaign. Maybe even a B. But within the campaign, and the fact you can give him spells, and he can be a spellcaster as well, makes him S tier. It's so strong. He does suffer, however, from being focus fired. You need to be careful with range stuff. If you've got some Great Unclean ones in the army. I think I ended up running 2 of them. 3. No, I think I had 3 in the end. And then you have another dude who can, another 1 or 2 guys that can summon them. So you end up with like 5 in a fight at one time. It was really good. And of course, they all get their own spells. And if you give them pretty much all the spells, which most people would have, I assume, incredibly strong unit. Incredibly strong. Its melee stuff is not amazing, but it's not terrible. 55, 45, so it's melee attack, melee defense, and 376 armor piercing damage. It's not bad, but it's not amazing. The thing that makes him amazing is that he's above average as a melee guy, probably in the higher tier, probably like a 90% in the higher tier, but then he's got his spells to back that up. And also buff units, do damage, heal units. There's a healing spell on that as well. It's really good. Yeah, really strong unit. Really strong unit. Moving along, what are these ones called? You would think I'd know the names of these off the top of my head after 30 odd hours playing these guys, but I do not. They're just plague toads. Useless. I mean, they're not useless, but they're not good. Like, they're good if you need something fast. Even then, they're not that fast, though, are they? No, they're only 15 on speed. Yeah, pretty bad. They're not harpy level bad, but pretty bad, pretty bad. These guys are the same. I don't know what they call drones, whatever. Rot flies. Armor piercing damage. It's definitely their upside. 31 melee attack, 24 melee defense, 80 damage, armor piercing. Not amazing, but they serve a purpose. You know, if you need something that can fly, this is the early game. If you need something that can fly, armor piercing damage, especially against like dwarfs or whatever, yeah, definitely want to grab those. These get superseded by this though. Soul Grinder, Nurgle Soul Grinder. Oh my god, so much freaking damage. It's insane how much damage these guys do. Range 360. This is their range damage. 15 ammo, range 360. Damage 397, armor piercing, poison. Backed up by melee stats of 42 melee attack, 35 melee defense, and 337 melee damage. More, no, not quite as much as the Great Unclean one, but very, very close. But it doesn't matter, because by the time you have 4 of these in your army, 5, 6 even, nothing's getting to your line. Like, if it gets to your line, it's not healthy, right? Because these guys just absolutely destroy units. A crazy amount. This is, I think I was watching a video the other day. This is said to be the strongest soul grinder in the game is these guys, and I would agree with that. I've never had so much fun decimating armies with a unit in my whole time playing. in Warhammer. I was like, this unit is so good. I'd definitely steal this and put this in other campaign armies if I could. Such a good unit. It's really disappointing when you go from playing Nurgle with these guys to another faction with their soul grinders. They're just not as good. It's not even the same unit. It's nothing close to being the same. All right, move along. Last unit for these guys. Like I said, only a real small roster. I didn't really kind of realize what was actually called. Spawn of Nurgle. I mean, they're a chaos spawn. They do their job. High damage monster unit. What is their damage actually? 130. I think it's the same as every chaos spawn across the board. 36 melee attack, 28 melee defense, 130 damage. They're definitely not A tier. They're B tier. Again, if there's another lord that comes along that buffs more the chaosy side of things, so them and say them the Forsaken, maybe that'd be stronger. I don't use them didn't use them much even in the old Chaos armies. Don't use them much in Beastman armies either. They're kind of just superseded by other things. I mean, it could just be me, I suppose. But, I mean, they're unbreakable, right? Or are they? No, are they? Or are they very close? No, they are unbreakable. Yeah. Definitely unbreakable. Yeah. Nah, definitely a B. They're definitely not C or D tier. But B. Oh, God, I can't even... I don't even know if these belong in here anymore, to be honest. They're not as good as them. We're not even accounting cost price and stuff. Actually, they're about the same cost, these two. They kind of last about the same amount of time. Yeah, it's probably actually fair then, isn't it? Yeah, probably actually fair. Yeah, that's the roster. It's not a very big roster at all. I was kind of surprised. It's like, hang on, I need to load up the game. That doesn't seem like all the units. But no, that's definitely it. Very fun campaign, though. I really enjoyed Nurgle. I know there's a lot of people who don't like Nurgle as far as like the roster. Apparently they're like really, really weak. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. It's one of the most fun campaigns I've done in a long time. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, remember to hit that like button. It really does help the channel out. Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you next time.